You are exhausted. Every single day, you wake up to a heavy, suffocating atmosphere of orchestrated narratives. You log into your networks, you look at the screens, and you feel the immense weight of a system demanding your total agreement. You feel the profound drain of trying to reason with the unreasonable. You try to point out the logical fallacies. You attempt to argue with the blind compliance of the masses, presenting facts, presenting history, presenting basic common sense. And it drains the life out of you, because you are treating this as a conversation. It is not a conversation. You are trying to negotiate with a wood chipper. The brutal truth of our modern era is that propaganda, corporate manipulation, and systemic lies are not magical spells. They are manufactured products. They are built on psychological assembly lines, utilizing specific, calculated blueprints designed for one solitary purpose: to extract your compliance. Welcome to the Psyche Vault. Today, we are not going to argue with the prevailing narratives. We are going to disassemble them. The sovereign mind does not waste precious energy arguing with a machine, nor does it react emotionally to the output that the machine generates. Instead, the intelligent individual practices the exact methodical art of reverse engineering. He takes the narrative apart, component by microscopic component. He exposes the raw mechanics and the hidden motives driving the system. Let us begin with the blueprint of deception. Every constructed lie, every piece of systemic manipulation has a rigid, predictable structure. It relies entirely on load-bearing pillars to keep the illusion from collapsing under its own weight. These pillars are never built from logic or empirical data. They are forged from core emotional triggers. The system uses fear, guilt, or tribalism, meticulously disguised as a moral imperative. Fear is the foundation. The architects of the narrative must convince you that a catastrophic threat is imminent. Because when the human animal is terrified, the prefrontal cortex, the center of rational thought, shuts down. Guilt is the binding agent. They tell you that if you do not accept their narrative, you are morally defective. They weaponize your own decency against you, making you feel responsible for the suffering of others if you dare to ask a single question. And tribalism is the reinforcement. They create a synthetic in-group and an absolute out-group, threatening you with social exile if you break formation. You must learn to identify this primary load-bearing pillar. You must look at the narrative and ask, what emotion is this machinery designed to extract from me? Once you see the structural design of the manipulation, it instantly loses its power. Once you understand how the trap was assembled, you can simply walk around it. You must perform a technical audit of the truth. A sovereign mind always demands the full documentation of reality. The system will constantly present you with a carefully curated set of facts, bathed in blinding, dramatic light. They want you to stare at the flashing lights. Do not look at what is there. Look for the missing components. The greatest tool of the modern manipulator is not the outright fabrication. It is the tactical omission. What data, what context, what basic historical precedent has been intentionally deleted to make their mechanism function? If you look closely at a piece of propaganda, you will always find a massive void where the opposing variables should be. They remove the friction so their narrative can slide effortlessly into your subconscious. You must put the friction back. Subject the narrative to a brutal, logical stress test. Ask yourself, who precisely benefits from my blind compliance to this idea? Ask yourself, what happens to this society if this exact premise is taken to its absolute logical extreme? If a narrative cannot withstand a merciless stress test of its structural integrity, it is compromised. And a compromised structure must be immediately discarded by the intelligent mind. But intelligence alone is not enough. You can possess the sharpest analytical mind in the world and still be destroyed by the machine. Because you cannot safely dismantle a running engine if your hands are caught in its gears. Emotional reaction is the exact gear that crushes you. The system wants you angry. The system wants you outraged, exhausted, and desperately typing furious responses into a void. Because your outrage is just another form of engagement. Your anger is the fuel that keeps their manufacturing plant operational. Detachment is your ultimate tool. Stoicism is not just an ancient philosophy, it is your strict safety protocol. You must step back. You must sever the emotional connection to the narrative entirely. When the system attempts to provoke you, do not view it as a personal attack. View it as a fascinatingly flawed algorithm. Analyze the lie with the cold, unforgiving precision of a master technician looking at a faulty schematic. A technician does not scream at a broken wire. He simply notes the failure, isolates the circuit, and cuts the power. This brings us to the ultimate objective: clarity over conflict. Understand this deeply. We are not here to manipulate others. We are not here to save the masses who desperately wish to remain asleep. We are here to see reality clearly. True critical thinking is never about winning arguments with fools. It is your ultimate intellectual shield. When you can look at a piece of heavy propaganda and clearly see the clockwork gears turning underneath it, when you can identify the exact fear trigger they are trying to pull, you become entirely immune to its effects. It ceases to be a terrifying cultural movement and simply becomes a pathetic, transparent piece of machinery. So, stop arguing with the machine. Stop letting a synthetically designed system dictate your internal emotional state. Let the masses have their illusions. Let them drown in their manufactured outrage. Your only duty is to your own intellectual survival. Learn to dismantle the narratives presented to you on a daily basis. Perform the cognitive audit. See the hidden gears. Understand the real, deeply cynical motives that drive the architecture of the lie. Keep your mind sovereign. Keep your intellect sharp. And keep your vault secure.